Coming up on this episode of Tom Talks Rubbish.
Well, I actually think, to be honest with you, content creation is a really, really good job for somebody who's autistic. And a lot of content creators are as well. You'd be surprised. But I mean, because the reason being is you can create your own schedule. So if you have needs and stuff, you can, build the schedule around what you're doing, which is fantastic. But I definitely just say don't put too much pressure on yourself. Make sure you're doing what you enjoy. And yeah, just honestly start because you'll learn as you go along. And if you go into it with a big, big plan and you take ages thinking, oh, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to do, you're just like prolonging it. And it's almost a form of procrastination. Sometimes you just got to do and you got to learn as you're doing it.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Tom Talks Rubbish, and stand back with another interview. This time, I'm joined by the one and only Ben Allison from Wrestling Republic. So, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to get into everything.
I'm really excited to have you on the show, my friend. So, if we take this back, before we talk about any of your work, etc., where do you first discover wrestling, my friend, as an overall fan?
So I would have discovered it around about like 6, 7 years old when just people in like my class in school were watching it. So I tuned into it. And I remember it was during the Rey Mysterio and Batista rivalry, but
Oh,
specifically leading up to the Royal Rumble, I think 2010, where Rey was going to face Undertaker.
hmm. Man after my own heart there, because I've told this story quite publicly on my channel that the Batista, you're supposed to be my friend moment. I don't know if you remember this from like 2009,
Yeah.
bragging rights was the moment that made me a wrestling fan. I've told that before on this.
Wow.
Mm. So you talked about that. How did you discover wrestling though? Is it one of those things where family were a fan, flipping channels? How did it work?
So I think it was just the fact that people were talking about it in school and stuff. And then I think I was kind of flipping channels to an extent. And like I'd seen the wrestling figures in shops and stuff like that. And then yeah, I just watched it and I immediately kind of fell in love with the larger than life elements to it, the big characters and all of that stuff.
Mm. That's really, really cool. Who was the character? You talked about larger than life people there. Who was the character that you're like, this is my guy upon that first initial
Rey
uh
Mysterio.
why did he speak to you as a fan, my friend?
Mostly, honestly, it was the masks and stuff. I was obsessed at a young age with like how like he'd wear a different attire almost
Mm.
every show. And I'd love comparing the masks and I used to love getting the different figures of him as well. I just found it so, so cool as a child. And
Mm.
yeah, I think that was really to me what stood out the most. But then I got into the storylines and stuff because of
Mm.
that. And then I just got really, really into it.
Favorite Rey Mysterio mask?
Oh, I really like the. This is a little bit of a wild shout, but the white one, which also had blue and yellow on it. I can't remember where it was from, but I remember I had that figure as a kid, and I used to just love that mask, and it was very different to a lot of its others.
It was actually, and I think I know where this is from. It was from the Batista and Ray feud where they had their no sanction match at Survivor Series this year, that year, where I don't know if you've seen it. Batista basically just power bombs him over and over on the chair. It was from that.
Yeah,
I believe it was. I believe it was. I'm not too sure, but it
it
sounds.
sounds about right. Definitely, it was around that time.
Mm. We've talked a lot about Ray there. What's your thoughts on obviously his son coming into wrestling and things like that, and seeing what Dom's done?
I thought when he first started, I thought, I'm not sure where this goes long term. I didn't really think he was missing something, and he kind of just felt like it was bring your son to work day a
Mm.
lot of the time. But as it's gone on, and especially with that heel turn, And when I genuinely think even behind the scenes, he got away from his dad a bit more and could be himself a little bit more. He's grown into this heel character so well. And he's fantastic now. He really is. It's incredible to see like the 5 year progression of him because he's gone from being, I mean, let's face it, just completely boring and nothing there of note to one of the best heels in this industry. It's fantastic.
With Rhea Ripley or without Rhea Ripley, in your opinion?
I think Rhea Ripley deserves a lot of praise for his evolution, but you
Mm.
have to break that up at some point, and I think they found the right time to do it. I think him and Liv are actually really good together as well. And I think with Liv being out, he's actually shown, especially in AAA as well, that he
Mm.
really can, do it on his own as well. Like in terms of he doesn't need to have a manager with him, and
Mm.
he's not manager, but somebody else to do a
Yeah,
lot of the
valet,
talking.
maybe.
He can do it himself as well.
Mm. They just remind me of like the sleazy couple that no one likes in school that like knows they're better than
Yeah.
everyone else and just like up everyone's nose. Him and Rhea reminded me of like that alternative couple that I kind of call kind of mysterious, but Dom and Liv just remind me of like, yeah, you guys are prom queen and prom king because nobody likes you, sort of, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about Dom and the modern day. Where is your current fandom as we record this in October of 2025, my friend?
Well, currently I watch a lot of wrestling. In terms of what my favorite stuff is right now, I mean, I've always been a big New Japan guy. I've been a big New Japan guy for years. I think their current product has gone a little bit. I'm not a fan of the creative compared to a few years ago, but I still enjoy that. But I'm big into like AEW, WWE. Obviously, watch all of that, even when sometimes, especially recently, the WWE product has been a little bit repetitive again.
Mm.
But I think they're starting to get on the right track again. But it's amazing, especially compared to 5, 10 years ago, how much more wrestling there is to choose from now as well.
So I had this conversation on the show. It'll be a couple of months ago as when this one
Mm,
airs, but like recently it's like you can be a wrestling fan without being a WWE fan. And when we were
yeah,
kids, especially because we talk about 2009, 2010, you were either WWE or you were bust because at that
yeah,
point TNA was WWE light. I don't know if you agree with that because the Hogan era and things like that.
yeah. It wasn't great. I tried to get into it a few times as a kid and I just couldn't.
Mm. Going back to the Royal Rumble of 2010, how
Mm.
much did the Royal Rumble stipulation help your fandom, do you think?
I actually wasn't able to watch pay-per-views for years. Like I'd
Mm.
ask my parents and they'd be like, no. So I used to, and this is true story as well. I used to find out the results by going on the WWE website and clicking on the photo gallery
Mm.
the day after a pay-per-view, and I just scroll through the photos, and that's used to be how I'd find out what happened.
What was the first sort of live pay-per-view you were able to watch then?
Live one that was actually years later. And I kind of got out of wrestling for a few years because my parents were like, oh, you're too young to watch it or whatever. But I used to keep an eye on it. But then it was 2016, early 2016, late 20, yeah, early 2016. And I just was flicking channels and I saw Shane McMahon return. It was that
Mm.
episode of Raw. And I was immediately hooked again. And I just became obsessed with it again. But the first pay per view I ever watched live was WrestleMania 32.
Oh, wow. Why was that sort of the one? Is it just that was the one at the time, or was there something specific that you were like,
So, I mean, I think I would have watched this one anyway because I just gotten back into it again. But the main reason why that was the first one was one, the network had come out, so it was a lot cheaper. But
mm,
secondly, me and my mates were actually having a sleepover at that age to watch it together. So we all watched it together, stayed up until very late in the night. We saw Shane McMahon jump off Hell in a Cell. We genuinely thought he died during it.
mm.
And yeah, we just had a blast watching it. So that was the first one I watched live.
Going back to Shane McMahon for a second, what were you aware of when it comes to him? Because he was gone from the WWE by the time you
Yeah.
started watching. So what were you aware of
So
when?
when like I get into something, because I'm autistic, you see. So when I get into something, I do a lot of research. So I literally went on the WWE YouTube channel, the early days of the YouTube channel at this time. In fact, I'm going to be honest, I think a lot of the videos weren't even by WWE. They were just other people who uploaded them. And I went on when I was a kid and just watched everything. So I knew about Shane McMahon. I saw all these old matches, all of that. So yeah, so obviously I knew he was gone. So to just turn back on the TV in 2016 and see a segment with Vince and Stephanie and him just return out of nowhere, I was shocked.
You know what sells that return, and I don't think she gets enough credit in this era because of the bad times and things like that.
Mm,
Is Stephanie McMahon's facial
absolutely.
reaction, if that makes sense.
Yeah, she is fantastic at it. She honestly, when it comes to, I mean, I was saying this the other day when somebody was saying about her being a Hall of Famer. And I said, honestly, people don't realize not only what she's done behind the scenes, which she deserves a Hall of Fame induction just for that, but on screen, the role she's played to the
Mm,
level she's played is incredible.
I agree. You mentioned being autistic there, and I'm trying to
Mm.
figure out a polite way of asking this question. How much did your autism, do you think, maybe affect you as a wrestling fan, whether it be struggling to go to live shows, things like that,
Mm.
etc.?
In terms of in terms of like positively, I mean, yeah, I think that's what made it stand out to me out of the gate. The fact it was larger than life, and that's what just got me so obsessed with it. In terms of negatively, it doesn't affect me too much, but like going to live events, flashing lights, I often just look down at my shoes and maybe just close my eyes during entrances a little bit at times.
Mm,
So it's nothing, too major, but it's one of the reasons why I'm a big fan of what Culture City are doing with AEW because
mm,
they're providing, sensory kits and stuff for autistic wrestling fans or people with sensory needs at wrestling shows. And I think that's a big, big step forward. But honestly, right now, what I just currently do is I lock down. And what I always need to do is a couple of days after a show, I'm really burned out because of
mm.
sensory overload and stuff like that. So I know I have to take it easy the next few days, which as a content creator can sometimes be a little bit difficult when you're
Oh
also
yeah.
managing to get, stuff out from that event. But yeah,
You mentioned burnout there. So
yeah,
other than your sort of medical needs is the polite way I'll phrase that. How
yeah.
do you deal with burnout just generally as a creator before we get into your work?
Um, yeah, I mean, to be honest, like I don't want to say don't experience burnout when it comes to creation, but like I like just always like to create. Like some days I'll have like one of those days where you see content's not doing good numbers. Like for example, at Wrestling Public with our YouTube, we have like been putting like I've been putting literally multiple hours a day into it for over a year now. I mean, realistically 3 years, but multiple hours for the last year. And like only now we're seeing like good results from it. So it is one of those things where some days, you look at the results and you're like, I'm putting this much work in, but I
Mm,
can't see it really going in the way I want to.
mm,
I believe in this content, but people aren't seeing it and stuff like that. But like I always just like to create and kind of keep myself busy. The only time when I do experience burnout is when I have this thing sometimes where like I think I can work 7 days a week,
You think there's
all
about
day,
30
every
hours in
day.
the day?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm somebody who needs a lot of sleep.
Mm,
And I sometimes think to myself, and it's stupid because I know this isn't the case. I think to myself, I can have 6 hours of sleep today, wake up, and then do that tomorrow. And then I oversleep. Then I'm annoyed at myself for oversleeping. But I
mm,
know I just can't live on 6 hours. I don't know why I think I can to begin with.
mm. I understand what you're saying completely there. You mentioned needing a lot of sleep there and things like
Mm.
that. How does that affect your sort of viewing of wrestling? Does that mean you don't watch as much live? Things like that.
I think it should mean I don't watch as much live. In reality, what it means is I've got a really messed up sleep schedule. Because I've like noticed, especially live tweeting, it like you get a lot more engagement doing it live.
Mm,
So I most of the time now will watch live, go to sleep, and then wake up like 7 hours later, really.
mm,
And yeah, it means the sleep schedule is very messed up.
Mm, that's really, really cool. So we've talked a lot about you as a creator and things like that, but how is Wrestling Republic born and things like that?
So going back to that WrestleMania 32, right? So I was really into it at this point. I just got the WWE Network as well. And a couple of months went by. I was consuming everything wrestling related, New
Mm,
Japan, independent stuff, Lucha Underground as well during that time. But at this point, I'd also just like downloaded Instagram for the first time.
yeah.
And after a couple of like months of being on Instagram, I saw a lot of wrestling pages. And I decided the day before Extreme Rules 2016, I wanted to create an Instagram page. And at that time, I actually made it an AJ Styles fan page.
Mm.
So that's actually how Wrestling Republic started. It was for the first 3 months of its existence, an AJ Styles fan page where I just post predictions and stuff like that. And then a few months in, I renamed it Wrestling Republic, continued posting. It grew up in followers. And then eventually I created the website, brought in other contributors, launched the YouTube channel, brought in more contributors for our daily show. And yeah,
You mentioned AJ there. If he
yeah.
was strictly a WWE fan at this point, how much of how much did his moment at WrestleMania 32 make you realize you're a fan of him and things like that? And then how much did you go back and watch about AJ and things like that?
So yeah, when I saw him and Chris Jericho WrestleMania 32, I mean, I think it was more the feud than the match, to be honest. I thought the match actually disappointed a little bit. But when I saw him, I was fascinated about who he was because I didn't really know. And literally after WrestleMania 32, I went back, I watched all his, not all his, but most of his New Japan stuff and New Japan World, which had also just launched about this time.
Hmm.
I saw a lot on YouTube as well, and I watched like a lot of his stuff from TNA as well, and I just thought he was awesome. So at that point, he was my favorite wrestler.
Hmm. How do you feel? And I hate to bring this up. How do you feel that next year is going to be his last year in wrestling?
It sucks. I mean, I'm not too surprised because he has been saying for years now he's going to retire, and he's kept on like prolonging it a little bit, but it has come to the point now where it's going to be his final year. I just hope it's better than Cena's final year. That's
Oh
what I
yeah.
say. I hope he gets a good send off. As long as he gets a good send off, I'm happy for him. But yeah, obviously, it's going to be an emotional moment as a fan.
As a fan, though, would you rather see him go out like this
Yeah.
than more like, no disrespect to the man, Hall of Famer, great at what he does and things like that, rather than Taker's final run, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
No, exactly. I really would like him to go out where he can still go. I think it's, especially with, he's very family orientated. So I do think it's, the right decision for him as well. So yeah, I'm excited to see his final year. I just hope it's done well.
Mm, I understand what you're saying completely there. How do you and Clark connect then and start sort of doing things together for Wrestling Republic?
So he joined as a reviewer first off, and then he jumped on a Zoom call with me and Kobe, and we discussed basically about starting like podcasts and stuff like that. So we talked about a few things, got StreamYard up and running, and I'm a graphic designer as well, so I
Mm,
got all the graphics done for it. But then, in terms of the daily broadcast, we've now done 125 episodes as of this recording of every single day apart from Christmas. Christmas is the one day off a year we do take. The way that started is like we talked about before, Clark saying that he eventually wanted to do a daily show.
mm,
Then at Christmas, I think 2022 it would have been. Christmas Eve, for whatever reason, and I honestly wish I could give you a better reason, I
mm,
just decided I want to start a daily show today. So
mm,
I called up Clark, morning of Christmas Eve, 2022, and we just started a daily show. And apart from Christmas, we've done it every day since then.
mm.
And there wasn't like big meetings which went into this. We just decided, let's start it and figure it out as we go along. But the best part about it is if you watch that first episode, it is terrible. And you
Oh yeah.
watch the episodes now, and the quality has gone up so, so much. And it's incredible to see day by day, especially when you can monitor it that way, the difference that it has been. It's been incredible.
Mm. You mentioned there your first episode being terrible, but then the seeing the quality improve and things like that.
Yeah.
I can watch my recent interviews and say, yeah, I know when my quality started to improve, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But when was that moment for you guys?
Oh, so I think it was probably, I mean, when I really noticed it was like probably a year and a half after the first episode, when I went back to watch the first episode, and I was like, wow, I did not realize how bad this was.
Mm,
So that was probably that was the moment for me, I'd say.
that's really, really cool. You mentioned we've mentioned Clark and things like that. How does Kobe come into the channel and things like that? Because I know he lives in Canada and stuff.
Yeah, so the way that started was he sent me an email asking to join the review team. And at that point, we had a review system in place. And the way we've always done it is it's always our review system has always been a criteria, right? So
Mm,
it's not just somebody's thought. There's always a criteria which goes into it that has to be followed. So it's as consistent as possible. Kobe came in, right? And with a lot of confidence, got on a Zoom call with me and said, the system sucks. We
mm,
need to change it. Now, I was thinking the same thing at the time, but I don't know really what to do. So we sat down with a multiple hour call, a few different calls, and we created what he describes as a rubric, right? So that's then how we rated matches and everything. So we came up with that. We then got certain wrestlers' feedback and stuff like that on it. And then he became the head of reviewing for Wrestling Republic.
mm. How do you feel like How did you feel, first of all, that Kobe was so brazen to be like, yeah, dude, this sucks? And then how do you feel like bringing him on has maybe improved or changed the site?
Oh, it's changed a lot. There's no denying that. My feedback, because a couple of people have done stuff before where they've asked to join and been like, this sucks. If you're going to do that, you have to have an answer as to how to make it better. And Kobe did. Some people have come in and said something sucks. And then I'm like, okay, how do you fix it? And they're like, that's when it's no good and I have no respect for it. But Kobe knew how to fix it. He had ideas and stuff like that. And I respect the hell out of that. Because yeah, I mean, I don't want people around me who are gonna say, this is great,
You
even
don't
when
want
it's
yes
not.
men,
Yeah,
basically.
exactly.
I understand what you're saying completely there. It's like me sometimes, and I might ask you later, I'll ask, where can I improve and things like that during the
Yeah.
recording. And I'm like, I'm genuinely asking because I want feedback. It's not like a pat me on the back sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And most of the time you get oh, you're great. And I'm almost thinking, but I want some constructive criticism.
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly. Yeah. No, I'm the exact same way when I ask for, feedback on my videos and people say, oh, it's great. And I'm like, well, there must be some way I can improve. There must be.
we've mentioned obviously you started this as a business and things like
Mm,
that, wanting to start this as a site. Obviously, that takes capital and things like that. So
yeah.
how did you first of all rate? Did you have some financial backing? Did you
Mm.
how did you sort of raise the capital to start Wrestling Republic sort of thing?
Well, I had a little bit in savings in terms of the cost to actually launch the company and to fund the website, which, I mean, look, I didn't realize until I started the website how much money websites take to actually run. Like it's a few £100 a year,
Hmm.
which is just crazy to me, honestly. But in terms of then like how to, there wasn't any big outside funding or anything like that. We're really self-funded. So like me and Clark, in terms of like we pay for the subscriptions and stuff like that. And then the money we earn usually goes right back into it to, advertise and to build up even more.
Hmm. How do you sort of, I'm always curious to talk to people about this, Ben.
Mm.
How do you sort of maintain that, yeah, I'm still a wrestling fan. I'm not just someone that runs a wrestling site, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's at times, especially when the product's bad, it's difficult. The thing is, I got through 2019. And I think once you get through 2019, I think anything you'll be sorted with.
Oh, yes.
So yeah, I'm gonna be honest. There's always something in wrestling I'm really interested in, but the one thing which I'm a little bit cautious of, and that's why recently my show Allison Analysis, I took it from being a Raw review, SmackDown review, and AEW review to being just a This Week in Wrestling review. And the
Mm,
reason I made that change was I was watching about the last couple of months, and it felt like I was complaining about more than I was actually praising. And I'm
mm,
like, I don't really think many people want to watch that, especially when it was so repetitive because the Raw and SmackDown was so repetitive. So that's the only time where I'm like, you know, maybe I need to rethink certain things. But I'm always a wrestling fan. It's just, whether or not certain programs have my interest. And then at that point, I want to complain, but not overly complain because that's no fun to watch.
mm. I understand what you're saying completely there. Who are the creators, my friend? Because we all look up to creators before we start this talk.
Yeah.
Who were the creators that you're like, I like what they do. I like what they do. I want to, no, maybe not emulate, but I take inspiration from them.
Yeah, I mean, in the early days, it would have been wrestling pages. I mean, the wrestling classic, Justin, who I now know, he's a fantastic guy.
Mm,
He was definitely an inspiration for me early on. The What Culture guys as well, who went on to become the Cultaholic guys. I was a big fan of them as well when I was first starting. And then also, I enjoyed watching a few years back Brian Alvarez on Wrestling Observer
mm,
as well. I think he's a fantastic podcaster. I enjoy listening to him. And Chris Van Vliet now as well, I think is absolutely fantastic. But I'd always say there's a lot of inspirations, but also I also take a lot of inspirations from like football media as well, right? So I'm a
mm,
big football fan. So I think like what Arsenal Fan TV are doing, that inspires me quite a bit as well. So I try and take things because I never want to, I don't want to copy anything from people in wrestling or whatever. So I try and take my inspirations where I can from like elsewhere and stuff like that.
mm. Why is that so important to you to not copy people in wrestling, but take inspiration, maybe from Arsenal and things like that?
Yeah. A lot of it is because, I mean, if somebody's already doing it, there's no value copying it. So it's always got to be different. Otherwise, yeah, you're not, there's no real value. If there's nothing that's making you stand out, then there's no reason people to watch you instead of them when they already have the audience.
Mm. But on the flip side, there's a great a CVV quote that I like, which is
Mm,
if you take from one person, that's stealing, but if you take from multiple people, that's inspiration. I've butchered that
yeah.
slightly, but I know what I mean, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. And that's actually a similar thing because I went to university for graphic design
Mm,
and we quite often talk about plagiarism and stuff like that. And it is true, right? You're meant to take inspiration from multiple things because that's how you learn, that's how you improve, that's how you get more ideas as well. But at the same time, you've got to one shift things, your own way a little bit. But secondly, make sure you're combining a multitude of ideas, not just copying some guy's design or something like that, right? You've got to be inspired by a variety of different things.
mm. That's really, really cool, my friend. I'm curious, you talked about there, we've talked a bit about your medical needs and your autism and things.
Yeah,
How open with Kobe and Clark were you about that and things like that? Or how open are you?
very open. So, I mean, I was doing, I for years on Wrestling Republic as early as like 2019, 2020 was very, if I earlier than that, was very open about being autistic just because like there's no real need to, hide it. And you'll always get like some hate comments and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But like, I mean, I don't really mind them to be completely honest. I actually think I almost when I see hate comments to do with my autism, I almost think like the fact they've gone out of their way to write that, it's almost like uh I don't know the word I'm looking for, but like it's almost like kind of makes me feel in a
Flattering?
way like they've taken their time to write that about me. Like that's cool.
Mm,
But like it never really offends me or anything like that. But yeah, I've always been very, very open about it. I've spoken a lot about it in the past as well. But yeah, I think, if some people can learn more autism, but more about autism from me, I mean, that's cool. But like, other than that, I don't really, yeah, I don't really mind.
What is your sort of, I'm trying to think of the right way of phrasing this.
Mm,
If I don't, please sort of tell me. What is your sort of autistic trait, maybe? Because looking at you
mm.
now, I wouldn't have known that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, to be fair, like in school, it was a lot more noticeable. So I'm bad with loud noises. I am bad with certain things. I mean, the biggest thing with me as well is food. I have like major sensory needs when it comes to like smells and foods and stuff. So I can't eat a lot of foods. I've got to have a very like it's a healthy diet, but it's a bit of a bland diet, and stuff like that. And I can't be around certain foods and stuff like that. But there's other things as well where like I'm not good with change. I need to know things in advance and stuff like that.
Not
Um,
bad.
Oh
If
no, no, don't worry with
if
the
you know, you
schedule or anything
know,
like that. But
guys.
it's like if like suddenly, for example, like let's say in school, uh suddenly like the lessons had changed that day for some weird reason or something like that, or the routine was different,
Mm.
it would just through me through a loop or whatever. It really would. So it's certain things like things changing, stuff like that. I need to plan stuff in advance as well. And then at times, I used to have difficulty speaking as well, but I've gotten a lot better with that. And podcasting's actually helped massively with that. That's one of the things where if I go back and watch the early dailies compared to now, it's incredible to see. But yeah.
Mm. How, if you could have a conversation with Ben that was at school with Ben now, what do you think
Mm.
the conversation would be like?
I mean, it's kind of easy to go back and say it now, but I kind of just be like, try and be less stressed because I used to be very stressed about everything. I don't think that it all matters a lot, even though people were saying to me, don't stress, it doesn't matter in the long term. I used to still just be so stressed about certain things and worry so much. And at a point as well, I'd worry so much about what people think of me,
Mm.
whereas now I really don't. So I feel like maybe just be more confident in myself and just be a bit more forgiving to myself as well, I'd say.
What is your advice, my friend, for creators that want to be in your position, but maybe they're autistic like your good self and they think,
Mm,
I won't be able to cope with the uh, negative feedback or the loud noises at events, things like that. What's your advice for people
yeah.
that want to create?
Well, I actually think, to be honest with you, content creation is a really, really good job for somebody who's autistic. And a lot of content creators are as well. You'd be surprised. But I mean, because the reason being is you can create your own schedule. So if you have needs and stuff, you can build the schedule around what you're doing, which is fantastic. But I definitely just say don't put too much pressure on yourself. Make sure you're doing what you enjoy, and yeah, just honestly start because you'll learn as you go along. And if you go into it with a big, big plan and you take ages thinking, oh, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to do, you're just like prolonging it. And it's almost a form of procrastination. Sometimes you just got to do and you got to learn as you're doing it.
Hmm. You mentioned procrastination there. Are
Mm.
is there sort of any moments that you go back, oh, I wish I'd started this show ages ago, if you know what I mean? If you hadn't procrastinated and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I always think to myself, if we really pushed the YouTube a few years earlier, I think there was less channels in the space. So
Mm.
that would have been a bit easier. But at the same time, the quality wouldn't have been as good a few years earlier at all. And I wouldn't have had the time because I was also, doing school and university. And I started it in university as well. So going back even further, it wouldn't have been possible, but I do think I wish I was a few years younger, not younger, a few years older at times. So I could have started it a few years earlier. But I mean, it's just one of those things that I kind of always have worked on. As soon as I can do something, I just do it.
Mm. I understand what you're saying completely there. So I mentioned that I'm going to ask you this question as we start wrapping this up pretty soon. Where can I improve? What do you think about this? Everything in between.
Well, it's been fantastic. You've asked some really, really good questions today. And you've also, I've been really impressed in your ability to, to take one answer and take it into the next question. You're very, very, very good at that. So yeah, I'd say that's a major, major positive.
I really appreciate that, my friend. As we look at wrapping this up, before we do generic questions and things like that,
Mm.
how do you define success for the channel, Ben, and things like that? And do you view it as a success?
Right now, I mean, the Instagram I definitely consider as a success. I mean, we've got 110,000 now, so that's definitely a success over there. On YouTube, I'd say, I mean, it's difficult to define success. I think we're doing a lot of successful things all the time, but in terms of it's obviously earning more money from it, it's obviously being in a place where, we can earn a lot more money from it. So that's kind of where we're taking it from. We're trying to get it in that place, really. So that's how I define success with that.
Hmm. What do you want the overall legacy of the channel to be if, like, I don't know, in 10 years you decided to step away and things like that?
Well, I'd like it to be, just a place for fans to share their voice about professional wrestling. That's what I really want it to be. I want it to be a fan's voice of professional wrestling because unlike anything else in wrestling, fans really have, an impact on the product. We saw it at WrestleMania 40.
Mm.
Fans completely changed the plans for that show, right? That cannot happen in like a TV show or anything like that because it's taped in advance. But in wrestling, it is live. It can change as it goes along, and fans have that power. So I think it's really, really important, especially now in the era of AI and stuff like that, where to have a true fan's voice of professional wrestling and a platform to allow fans to share their thoughts.
Mm. That's really, really cool, my friend. As we look at wrapping this up, Ben, we are going to do a segment, should I say, that is a staple on this channel called Generic Wrestling Question. Those of you that have seen my interviews before, when I'll ask Ben his favorite match, favorite pay-per-view card, such as Double or Nothing 2019, for example, favorite wrestler's entrance team, favorite tag team, and favorite wrestler. Basically, the questions I assume you're asked on social media or in live streams. So now you'll have a place to be like, guys, I've answered this. Please go watch this. So, what's your favorite match of all time, my friend?
So, my favorite match of all time. This is a really, really difficult one. I mean, John Cena, AJ Styles Royal Rumble 2017 comes to head a little bit, but I'm not going to go with that. I am going to go with. It's a really difficult one. I'm going to say it will change a lot, but right now I'm going to go with the third. I think it was the third. It was either the third or the fourth. The match which went 75 minutes between Okada and Omega at Dominion, because that
I
match
believe
for
that's the
me,
fourth one, but yeah.
yeah, I was on the edge of my bed the entire time watching it. And honestly, just the emotion that match brought out of me, I'm not sure if I've ever felt during a wrestling match watching it live. So I'm going to go with that one.
That's really, really cool. What about your favorite overall pay-per-view card?
So my favorite overall pay-per-view card. I don't know if this is necessarily my favorite card, but my favorite pay-per-view, and I was there live for it, so it's very biased, is going to be NXT TakeOver Cardiff.
Mm.
Because I mean, I thought that show was just absolutely fantastic. Gunther Tyler Bate in the main event as well. It was just from start until finish. It went by so quickly as well, but it was just so much good wrestling. So I'd say for me, that's my favorite wrestling event of all time.
What about your favorite wrestler's entrance music?
Oh, this is another one which changes so much. Um, I really like the original DIY theme.
Mm.
I think that's the answer I'll give. The original DIY theme.
Really, really cool. What about your favorite tag team, my friend?
Oh, a really good question as well. I'd probably go with. I mean, if you're asking, it's between, and they're both recent, and it's both going to be biased because it was what I watched when I was really into wrestling in 2016, 2017, 2018. But even beyond then, I'd probably say DIY or FTR. And for this reason, I'm going to say FTR because they've done it since then as well. The way that they respect the tag team rules, but still manage to put on bangers, I really, really love their stuff.
I have an idea what this will be, but favorite FTR match.
I'm going to go DIY, the one where DIY finally won the tag team titles.
Toronto.
Yeah, Toronto. What a match.
That's really, really cool. And then finally, Ben, the biggest generic question, in my opinion. Who is your favorite overall wrestler of all time?
Again, difficult, but I'm going to go with AJ Styles just because, I mean, the knock-on effect that he had in professional wrestling is crazy too, in terms of he brought a lot of American eyes to New Japan and to the Bullet Club. And then from there, him and Balor going to WWE actually brought even more eyes to it. And at that point, that brought the eyes to Kenny Omega to the Elite. Then being the Elite, we all know what that led to and the knock-on effect all of that had. I don't think AJ Styles gets the respect that he deserves for it. But also, I mean, the career that guy's had, it's absolutely incredible. So that is my answer.
You mentioned being the Elite there, and that gives me a beautiful segue to like, who are you one of those fans that's a bit like, oh, that's a shame that he's never going to get like a big all elite wrestling run sort of thing?
I'm going to be honest. In hindsight, I kind of wish he went there in 2019 when he was originally talking about going, just because the stuff he's done in WWE since then. I mean, let's face it, most of it's been nothing of note. And it really, really hurts me to say that, but it's the truth. But at this point, him retiring in WWE, I have no issue with that. I just wish the last few years, like, he'd done more essentially, because since the pandemic, he's done very little.
The only comparison I can give is Ric Flair's final run in 2008. He didn't do much for the 2 years that before his retirement. And then he had that big retirement story. That's the only comparison I can give, if that makes sense.
No, it does make a lot of sense. Yeah. So hopefully AJ Styles does get a big retirement match like Flair did. But again, after seeing his retirement tour and how it's been handled, I'm not filled with confidence.
I understand what you're saying completely there. Who do you want AJ's final opponent to be?
Oh, I would like, as of now, Carmelo Hayes. So I think he's somebody who I'm a big fan of. I actually interviewed him years and years ago when he was on the independent scene. And he's a fantastic guy as well. So I really would like that to be the final match. If not, I mean, there's two other guys I'd like to see it being. Javon Evans, if he's ready, I think that would be naturally a very, very good final match for him. Or if it is going to be a cross promotion match, which I doubt it'll be, but if it is, Leon Slater, I'm a big fan of that kid. And honestly, I think those two could put on an absolute banger.
That's really, really cool. As we wrap this up, Ben, the question I end this show on is I believe as YouTubers, podcasters, even just people with some good old social media, we're all sort of going to live forever in a very, very weird way if you think about the world. So, what is one of your content you're like, please remember me for that? And then what is one that you're like, nah, I'm good, guys. You can forget about that one.
There's definitely been a few of those, especially in the early days of Wrestling Republic and stuff like that, where like I was not doing a good job. But I don't necessarily know if yet there's been that moment where I'm like, please remember me by this, because I'm like to think I'm always improving. So hopefully that will come. But I do think we're a few years away from seeing that moment where I'm like, remember me by this. Yeah. So right now, I'm still working towards that point, I'd say.
That's really, really cool. And another beautiful way to end this, my friend. But as we do, please promote yourself. Where can the good people find you, your work, etc.?
You can find Wrestling Republic on Instagram, on YouTube, on Twitter at Wrestling Republic on Twitter. You can find me at Allison Analysis on Instagram, Ben Allison WR on Twitter, or X now as it's called. So those are the places you can find me.
It's well worth doing, guys. One of the hardest working people in this space, but one of the nicest as well. So if you guys like this, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Tom Talks Rubbish on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter or X at Tom Talks Rubbish, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye now.
Thanks for watching this Tom Talks Rubbish conversation. Before you go, please make sure you leave a like on the video, share it around and subscribe to Tom Talks Rubbish on YouTube, as well as follow Tom Talks Rubbish on Twitter/X.